welcome back to Sextras,
where we talk about sex and all the extras.
Yes, welcome back. I'm Honey, and my fun fact of the week is that I did not know narwhals existed until like a few months ago. I really just thought they were like a cartoon character. They just look like something that isn't real, you know what I mean? Like they just seem fake.
Yeah, I mean, why do they have the horns? Do they have them like to hunt? Because like, what are they just like?
Yeah, that's so true. I really want to watch a video of them hunting.
Oh, is it? Oh, it is to hunt. But then
maybe like I want to see how they catch their food. Maybe it's like for protection though. Maybe they fight with them. Do you think they fight? It's like
like fencing.
Like fencing.
Sea fencing.
Oh my god.
I also have an animal related fact. Anyway, hi, I'm Maria, and I accidentally murdered my chicks when I was little. Well, basically we got some at a party, because in Mexico, like, sometimes you can win animals at parties. I don't really know. I don't think that's very ethical, but anyway.
Very not vegan of you.
Yeah, so we won some chicks, and then we dyed them all these crazy colours. I don't really know why we did that. That's also pretty unethical. But then one day we were like out in my garden and it was a really sunny day. So I was like, oh, I have to put sunscreen on them, otherwise they're going to get sunburnt. And then the next day I woke up and they were dead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was kind of a sad...
It's kind of like quite bad that the sun cream killed the chicks. Like, what does that say about sun cream?
Yeah, true. Maybe it wasn't the sun cream. Maybe it was like a mix of things, but I'm pretty sure it was the sunscreen.
A mix of the dyes and the sun cream.
Poor little chicks.
I know, poor little chickies.
Yes.
Okay, guys. Well, this week we know we did not upload an episode this Tuesday. We are very sorry about that. It will hopefully never be happening again. We actually recorded an episode with a guest, but in the end, sadly, the guest changed their mind about publishing the episode, so we will be releasing this episode. Hopefully it does not disappoint, and hopefully we will have another guest soon. But this week we're going to be talking about being a slut and what that means to us, what it means to you guys, and yeah, we hope you enjoy. We are going to start off with a little segment where we asked everyone what the sluttiest thing they have ever done is, and you guys did not disappoint, which is...
Yeah, you definitely delivered, you absolute slags.
Yeah, we love it. So yeah, let's dive into that.
Yes, I know, and we will be talking later in the episode on the whole, because we did have some people messaging us saying that it was a bit unclear what we meant by what is the sluttiest thing you've done. So we will completely dive into that, but first let's go through your responses.
Yes.
I'll start us off. Someone said, kissing my ex-boyfriend's best friend.
I just don't understand. I mean, no, I do understand, because obviously most people have been there, done that. But like, I would not recommend going for someone who is in any way close, whether it's their friend or their relation, to someone that you have dated. Because like... even if it's not like a salty thing, which most likely it is, they're obviously going to take it like that. So just don't do it. Just don't.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, you don't really owe shit to your ex, so I don't think it's that problematic, because it's like, whatever, like, I literally don't owe shit to you.
Yeah, that's true.
But
maybe the advice we should be giving is, friends of anyone, don't be getting with your friend's ex.
Yeah, exactly. Like that best friend, what a dickhead. Terrible friend.
True.
But you're good. Whatever. Yeah. You don't owe shit to them.
Next one. Got beeped at by a bus driver for flashing midday. Okay. I don't know.
That's
what.
so funny.
Yeah. I don't know how to respond to this one, really. Did he get a free bus ride?
Yeah. Was it for a free bus ride?
Was it worth it?
Yeah.
Was the bus driver fit?
Okay. Got a hand job next to a church graveyard by a bloke off Grindr.
This is so blasphemous.
Pretty spooky.
I don't even believe in God, but this is blasphemous. Like, it's just kind of like, I don't know, like I've peed in a graveyard and it just freaked me out. I was like, are the dead bodies watching me? Do they know I'm peeing like near their gravestones? Are they going to come back and haunt me? I don't know. You just don't know. Is it worth it?
I mean, maybe they started feeling pretty sexy with all the dead bodies watching them, so
yeah, it's a bit of
maybe that's what
necrophilia.
happened.
Okay, one night stand in the early hours of Christmas Day, not slutty, just proud of it. I feel like you should always be proud of your slutty endeavors. It's fine.
100%.
Also, this is like crazy to me because firstly, it must have been so fucking early. Like, how did you manage to negotiate that with your family? Like, Merry Christmas. Oh, I'm just gonna go get some dick. I'll be back for dinner. Like, how?
Sounds like it was like a Christmas Eve though.
Oh yeah,
as
maybe.
in it happened Christmas Eve into Christmas Day, but still pretty special that it was already Christmas, you know? Like your present came early.
It's like birthday sex, Christmas sex, Valentine's sex, all of them just like wrapped up together. I feel like I want to do that. I want to know what that's like. You're like breaking the boundaries of it being like a family only kind of celebration.
Yeah, I mean, this is like in my bucket list because my family, I just don't see how I would ever be allowed out to even like I've only ever even spent New Year's Eve with my friends once. Like my family is such a family.
I've never spent New Year's Eve with you. It's like the saddest thing of my life.
I know. No, well, we have. You were too drunk to remember though. You were absolutely out of it at that party.
Oh yeah, that was okay. Yeah, no. Okay, we have, but also I feel like we weren't even like we didn't even like. Did we even go together? I don't remember going with you. I don't think we.
No.
Together.
I arrived really late and I left really early because like it was such a thing to even be allowed to. Anyway, what my point is, good on you because I would
you're
never
an adult
be able
now.
to get away with that. Yes, you're an adult. That is like the same.
Good job.
Okay, next one. Ex-girlfriend and I tried to get a mutual friend laid, ended up having a threesome instead.
This is like, oh, it's just tricky. Like, I don't want to mix those two like aspects of my life.
I don't know. I think that's kind of funny because it's kind of like if they were all just looking at each other like, oh, who can you fuck? Who can you fuck? And then they're all kind of down for it.
They're
nice, like, fair enough.
I mean, perfect timing.
But I mean, it could be tricky. Like that could bring up some problems. And seeing as his, ex-girlfriend, one can only assume.
Yeah, it clearly went wrong somewhere. So just saying, maybe this isn't the best idea. Next one, I had a threesome on my 20th birthday. Again, you're an adult now. Do what you want. Live your life. Good job. Yeah, very nice. Setting a good tone for your 20s.
Yes, indeed. Okay, another one. So she said, I met a guy from Tinder last night and didn't even have a conversation with him on Tinder or in real life before I shagged him. Afterwards I say, hi, nice to meet you.
That's nice. I just don't understand this one. Like, how does this work? What are the logistics? He just like texts you show up at his house, you don't even speak. Like, surely they must have texted or like they know something at least.
Well, maybe he literally just sent the address and she showed up and then...
Yeah, maybe. I mean, good introduction, at least. Good first impression.
It's pretty efficient.
Yeah.
you know, just go in, get what you actually went there for, and then
it's a business
get
transaction.
the fuck out. Like, you don't.
Okay, someone else said, kissed 2 boys in one night because I was angry with my ex. Again, people, we can't stress this enough. Please stop doing things because you're angry with your ex. I have been there. It doesn't feel good. You don't make yourself feel good. You don't make anyone else feel good. Just don't do it.
Yeah, but also, I don't know. I'm kind of more of a proponent of like, just do whatever you want. Like in that moment, if that's what you wanted to do, fair enough. That's what you wanted to do.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, I do agree with like, if you're just doing things like sexual things out of spite, it's probably like you're gonna end up feeling more shitty than not.
Very true.
Next one. Went to a guy's house to have sex with him and we fucked, then went downstairs to go to bed, except his friend was also in the bed, and when we were lying there trying to sleep, they were both feeling me up. Then the guy I had come to sleep with originally fell asleep and his friend was trying to get it on with me. We started getting with each other and I was grinding on top of him while the first guy was asleep right next to us. And so me and the friend snuck off together and fucked in different rooms of the house.
Oh, wow. This is so impressive.
I love that. It's so funny.
This is like goals. Like, good job to this person, really.
Yeah, I mean, 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah. Okay, last one. Was determined to pull this guy at the club because I thought he was cute, but he just wasn't approaching me, and my friend thought one of his friends was cute. So we were around the group of guys and anyway ended up going home with these dudes miles away from where I live. I went up to a bedroom with the dude I fancied, and then my friend came into the room and started getting involved. Anyway, we had a threesome and then I had sex with him after, and then I dipped. Found out later through a friend that this was his virginity. Oh my god. Oh my god. Literally.
Imagine having a threesome for your first time and you're having a threesome. That's crazy.
Oh my god. Your whole like perspective of sex would just be skewed after this. Like, surely you'd
only threesomes forever.
Yeah, you'd just think that like that's the way to go. Like, I don't know, maybe if I'd lost my virginity to a threesome, I'd be like, yeah, sex with one person just isn't enough. Like, I'm not satisfied.
Wait, I have one more.
Oh, okay.
It's really good. I had sex with my tour guide while we were still on the tour, then slept with someone in a pool.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. This is so funny.
What?
They're, like, on the tour. They're, like, walking. They're, like, oh, look, there's a little cave. That's, like, the ancient cave of, like, romance. Let's just quickly have a little fuck in there. Like, how does this work? I don't understand.
And then if you look to your right, it's me and this cousin having sex. How did you do it in the tour? Like, fair enough if you fucked your tour guide after, but like, how in the tour?
Maybe there's like 2 tour guides. But also, how did you know that you were gonna fuck? Like, was he just like making eyes at you? Like, surely you must have like, was he like flirting with you during the tour, or like what was the situation? It's so good. Okay, well, we love you guys for sending us your sexy stories as always. We hope you continue to send them. We love to hear them. You'll hear that we had like some longer stories. If you guys want to send us your long stories, please do. Don't feel limited by Instagram and the length of the message you can send on there. You can DM us or you can email us at sextraspodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, so to clarify, as Maria said earlier, what we meant by slutty, because some people are clearly confused, we are not talking about slut shaming. We're talking about what you feel good about, and like when you have felt like the most sexual being and you're like proud of it, like you're so empowered by your sexuality and like having sex. and you feel liberated and you
Yeah.
don't feel constricted by any social norms or anything like that. So yeah, we always want to inspire everyone to feel comfortable talking about sex, feel comfortable having sex, and even if you're not having sex, just being comfortable with your sexuality and with yourself. And yeah, that's kind of what we meant by that one.
Yeah, and also I think you can be a slut, but like by the standard definition of what people usually think of when they think of slut, it's like someone that sleeps around, or I think like that's the actual definition of like someone that just sleeps around. But I think, in my personal opinion, and what we want to, give out in this podcast, you can be a slut even if you're not fucking. Like I have friends that don't necessarily fuck that much, like they're not having sex all the time or even with that many people or whatever, but they just have that slutty energy, that slutty mentality of like, let's go get that dick. Even if you're not even getting that dick, it could be like, let's go grind on as many guys as possible at the club tonight, baby.
You're just manifesting.
And like that can be slutty behavior, but you're not necessarily like fulfilling the actual definition of slut in the dictionary. Do you know what I mean? I just think it's more about the energy,
being a slut can be whatever,
like how you feel in yourself,
whatever you want and whatever works for you, rather than being defined by what other people think. I think that's the main thing. But yeah, so I also want to talk a bit about how like I feel like a slut when I'm in a relationship. I feel like even more of a slut when I'm in a relationship because I just feel so like free. Obviously, like I can't sleep with whoever I want because I personally am in a monogamous relationship, but I feel liberated by the fact that I can have sex however I want without being judged. I am comfortable having sex with that person because they know who I am. And yeah, it's kind of surprising. I never would have guessed this because I've always been like, oh, I don't want to be in a relationship. Like, fuck that. I want to be free to do whatever the fuck I want. But now I am in one and I'm like, yeah, I feel liberated. I feel great. I feel so sexy.
Yeah, I think like another part of why people might feel more slutty in relationships is because obviously like when you trust someone, you can do more sexually wild things, so then you can feel more slutty. But I don't know, I don't, not that I don't have like wild sex or anything. I mean, I'm not gonna like dive too deep into my own sexual life right now, but I don't really feel like a slut anymore. I feel like a retired slut. Like my days are behind, those days are behind me, but I mean, I'm not saying that they can't be in the horizon. I don't know, I don't necessarily feel that slutty, I don't think.
I mean, yeah.
I think I feel very very prim and proper now that I am, in a monogamous relationship.
Darling. Yeah, but I feel like you don't have to want to feel like a slut as well. Like, it's just, if you want that life, then go for it. Like, embrace it fully, you might as well. Like, don't let it hold you back. But yeah, if you don't want to feel like a slut, that's also fine. Yeah, just feel good whatever you're doing. We're going to keep this episode pretty short, but we both wanted to talk about being shamed for being a slut, which is a very different thing from being empowered being a slut. And I feel like a lot of the time, the culture that we live in and the way that people talk about sex is more harmful than anything else. Because, yeah, I just think it's so rude and inconsiderate for anyone else to impose their views of what sex and relationships should be on you. So obviously we have a podcast about sex and relationships, but you guys choose to listen to us, and you know that we're always going to be sex positive and we're not here to make anyone feel bad about anything they've done. But there are people out there that choose to have this view and opinion on sex and what sex should look like, i.e. no sex before marriage, or you shouldn't be sleeping around with so many people, or you're too young to be having sex or talking about sex or engaging in any sexual activity, or even like presenting yourself as a sexual being. And that is just a dangerous way of forcing people into these boundaries that, of course, people are going to find ways to break those boundaries. People are always going to have sex. There's no way you can stop people having sex. So to tell them that they can't, they're going to go and have sex in the most dangerous, most unsafe ways possible.
I don't get why it's so out there or taboo to even be talking about sex, because it's not like everyone isn't having it.
Yeah.
Like, why is it so out there to talk about sex openly if literally everyone's having it?
And everyone literally comes from sex. How can we ignore that? Like, we just can't ignore that. And I think, well, I personally don't have experience with religion playing a part in like slut shaming, but if you're telling people no sex before marriage and like sex with someone of the same sex is sinful and all these things, you're just forcing them into this pattern of unhealthy relationships and unhealthy sex life, of self-hatred, and they're going to put themselves in situations that like reflect the worth they feel that they have. So you're literally forcing people into thinking they're dirty, so they sleep with people who don't treat them properly, or they put themselves in unsafe situations. And I just think there's so many ways that with education and with just being open and having the conversation, we can change the culture that we live in and not make everyone feel so uncomfortable with talking about something that is just... It's literally as natural as eating or sleeping or drinking water.
Yeah. And also, we're not trying to say, like, if you don't want to be sleeping around, if you are waiting for the one, if you are waiting for marriage, that, like, your view of sex is harmful and you shouldn't have that view. You should be open and you should be completely willing to have sex with whoever, because who cares? Everyone has sex. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is more in terms of what you impose onto others. Like, if you personally are like, oh well, I wouldn't have sex with a stranger. I want to have sex with someone that I really care about and like that I think is the one and that I'm gonna end up marrying, whatever. Completely fine. Like, I completely support you, and I completely understand that, having come from like a religious background as well, and being raised in a household that sex before marriage isn't really acceptable. I mean, my parents are a lot more progressive now and they're really supportive of the podcast and everything, but I know that they have found it very difficult, and I completely understand that. But I don't think that just because you have a certain idea of what sex should look like or what sex should be, i.e. private or with someone that you trust and love, whatnot, whatever, I don't think that means that you have any right to make anyone feel ashamed about their views on sex and the way that they choose to engage in sexual behaviour or whatever. Yeah. And I'm really lucky that I grew up in London, because even though my parents are religious, and because I'm Mexican and it's a very religious culture, like, I'm very lucky that I grew up in London and I could make up my own mind going to a very open-minded school about what sex means to me and whether sex before marriage really is like a sin, and am I really gonna go to hell? Like, and I think if you kind of surround yourself with people with toxic mentalities about sex, or people that are trying to shame you, then it will be really hard to break out of that. So if, let's say, your parents are not the most sex positive or the most open, or let's say you're in the closet and you know your parents are not going to be accepting of that kind of stuff, like, my advice is go online. Like, there are so many people talking about it online. You can find a lot of like-minded people. Surround yourself with people at school that will be able to openly talk about it with you, because if you stay in this very closed environment, then those toxic behaviors and like ideologies surrounding sex will follow you into adulthood and into your sexual life,
and it just creates like,
and that can be really, really harmful,
generational trauma and generational silence around a topic, rather than moving with the times and embracing the times. And obviously, yeah, everyone has different ideas of what sex means to them. I think even me and Maria have different ideas of what sex means to us, but we want to encourage everyone to explore for themselves what they think that is, rather than just swallowing something that is fed to them and feeling held back by things that are really more harmful. And if you feel like you have to have sex with someone that loves you, or you only want to have sex with people casually, all those things are completely fine, as long as you're talking about it and being open and not shying away from it. Like, whatever you decide, own it for yourself. Don't say, oh, well, this is how I was brought up, or I feel uncomfortable talking about sex because that's not how I was raised. Well, that's completely fine, but do you want to feel comfortable talking about something that is such a big part of your life, or do you want to feel like you can't even mention to your mum, oh, like, I have an STD, or like, oh, I'm pregnant because I was having sex? Like, no one wants to feel that way.
Yeah, and I mean, I think going back to the whole like slut shaming idea of it all, a lot of these harmful thoughts don't even come from like the way your parents raise you and stuff. Like, sometimes it's literally just like your peers and other people around you that are also having sex, like that just make you feel like you're doing something wrong. Like,
yeah,
I know, I don't know, it's kind of a weird one, because I, like, in my friend group in uni, like, I'm kind of like known as a slutty person and that kind of stuff, and I know that when they're saying it to me, it's not like insulting, whereas like when I went to Mexico, and I just like, I did my own thing how I do in England. Like, I was just like getting with a few guys in the same night, and like I just like had sex with a random guy, and I don't know, I didn't think that I was really doing anything wrong. Like, I didn't feel ashamed at all within myself. But then other people, because it's a different culture in Mexico, like, I came out and I told my friend, I was like, oh yeah, I just had sex with that guy, and literally her face, like, she it sounded like as if I literally said, oh yeah, I just killed like a couple guys in the bathroom, just felt like it, lol.
Yeah,
like, literally, it was so shocking. It was so shocking. And I think then I started feeling shame from what people my age were kind of thinking about what I was doing, when in myself I didn't feel that. So I think like a lot of those harmful thoughts and behaviors, and the whole idea of slut being a bad thing, comes completely from like your peers mostly.
Yeah. And I think even in the UK, I've felt that. Like, I've been shamed for having sex with someone by someone who I knew was also having sex, but they were in a relationship, whereas I had sex with someone who I wasn't in a relationship with. And I was like, well, why is it any different? Just because you're in a relationship and because I'm not, doesn't mean what we're doing is any different. It all comes down to the same thing. Doesn't make what I'm doing any worse. And also then I went on to sleep with that person. So I was literally like where does this come from in reality? Like, we just have to be able to examine these things and to separate harmful views of sex from actually helpful, healthy, constructive conversations. And that doesn't mean everyone who listens to this podcast suddenly has to be comfortable with talking about sex and hearing other people talk about their sex lives, or just telling their experiences. But it means, in the same way as uncomfortable conversations about race, not that it's completely the same thing, obviously there's not as much harm that comes from systemic racism as there is from systemic slut shaming, but like, being able to have these uncomfortable conversations will help you move forward and embrace change, and be able to like get used to hearing new ways of talking about it and new ways of looking at things. And that takes time, a lot of the time. And just because you don't come from a background where your mum talked to you about sex, or you come from a family that's very religious, you can't just go from one thing to the other. Of course you can't, but yeah, just being able to examine your mindset, examine other people's mindsets, and make an informed decision for yourself. Also, based on your education, which is even more important, why we have education about sex and relationships. But yeah, just being able to make an informed decision and really embrace your sexuality, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, be a slut and be the change you want to see in the world.
Exactly.
Also, slut shaming, it's so centered on girls. Like, the amount of like, it really makes me so mad, because guys can literally just be like shagging and treating girls really fucking badly that they're sleeping with, yet like no one's gonna say shit, no one's gonna have a problem with it. Yet like if I go out and like get with a few guys in one night, like people will be out here being like, oh, you're so easy. It's like, excuse me?
I made this decision for myself, so why is that a bad thing? Like, how dare I have control over my own my own decisions, my own actions? Like, how dare that happen? And I think it comes from modesty culture as well. Like, women have always been taught you have to act in a way that pleases people around you. You can't dress too sluttily, you can't dress with too much skin showing, you can't act too provocatively, you can't attract too much attention. But then there's also the flip side of it that's like, oh, you're not being sexy enough, or you're not attractive enough. And all these things are like pressure on both sides that just force people into acting in ways that just make them so inherently unhappy, and they don't feel free to express their sexuality or any other like exciting part of their personality, because how can you feel free to express yourself in any way if maybe your skirt's 1 inch too short, you're gonna get slut shamed, or maybe your boobs are out because it's a hot day and someone's gonna whistle at you walking down the street, and you think attracting that attention is like dirty and makes you some kind of whore.
And like it's literally just skin. Like, it literally means nothing. The way it literally annoys me so much, because it's just skin. Like the nipples, even like how, I don't even know, like to school, like I feel like maybe if you could see my nipples, like I would feel a little bit self-conscious, when it's like, why? It's just a nipple. I've seen so many male nipples in my life, and was like, am I like, look at that delicious chest, like I can't control myself, like I need to have sex with them right now? Like, no. Like, it's just a body part. Control yourself. Stop being a fucking freak.
And in the same way as it's just sex, and it can be so much more than just sex. It can be on a whole spectrum of importance to you, but in the end, it is just a dick in an asshole, or a dick in a vagina, or a dick in a mouth, or a dick in someone's hand, or your vagina on someone's face. So I think we just really need to normalize naming body parts for what they are, accepting nudity does not equal sexuality, and talking about your sex life and being open about your sex life does not make you a slut. It means you have agency.
And this whole like talking about your sex life and stuff, I just want to bring this up because it's really in my head. That like, okay, so male rappers, male musicians, or like males in general, they have been talking about sex and like very explicitly and stuff for ages, like forever, and no one's like, oh, like you're giving the wrong message, or like you're encouraging young people to be very sexually promiscuous and whatever. And like some male artists' music is like they're talking about sex in like quite a gross way, like not even in a respectful way to do with women. Do you know what I mean?
A lot of the time.
And then women, like recently in the media, like female artists, and or like females, just girls just in general, they like we're becoming more outspoken about sex and like talking about it, not even in a, like, we're not even trying to shove it into anyone's face. We're literally just having conversations about our sex life, or like women being a lot more sex positive, like women that are in the public eye and stuff like that. And then there's so much backlash on them, and like not even just from like guys, even from women being like, oh, you shouldn't be encouraging girls to be slutty, and like this is giving like the wrong message of sex and all of that stuff. And it's like, what? But why?
And it's such a double standard.
I'm just talking about
because
it.
Men
like,
have dominated the music industry for the past 100 years. The large majority of producers and people who get to sculpt the image of musicians and artists are men. And that means inherently the way that people are molded is through the male gaze. If you guys haven't heard of this term, please look it up. It's a cinematic term, and it relates to literally every single thing that you will see in the media, everything. It's a very important concept. Please educate yourselves on this. But everything is sculpted through the male gaze and what the male expects of women and her objectivity as a sex object, whether that is she is either going to present herself as very sexual, or she's going to be nice and prim and proper because she doesn't want to attract too much attention. And now that women are deciding for themselves, such as Cardi B, I think we really need to talk about this, and Megan Stallion, people do not want that to be women deciding for themselves. People don't want women to say the word pussy, even though men have been using it to describe something that isn't even on their own body for the last 50 years.
Yeah, what annoys me the most about this is that, like, as if these women, like, the example of Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, like, they aren't being sexualized already. Like, everyone's sexualizing them. And so what? It's completely fine if you're commenting like, yeah, let me eat your ass, like, on her Instagram pic. But then when she's, like, talking about her wet pussy, then it's like, oh, no, like, I don't like it when a woman's, like, too sexual. Then, like, oh, no, it's just, like, it's just a bit disgusting, like, blah blah blah. It's like, what do you mean? Like, if you're already sexualizing women, and then the minute that they try to own it for themselves, you're criticizing them. It's like, okay, well, so what? We can't win. Like, sorry. Like, what do you want me to do?
And we also have to talk about how it is very much a racial issue and an issue with hip hop.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And genres of music that have been created by Black and brown people. Because I'm reading Angela Davis's book right now. It's called Women, Race and Class. And she talks about how sexualizing Black women is literally a product of slavery, and that Black women were raped by their slave owners as a form of domination and as a way to force them to subordinate themselves and make themselves inferior to the slave owners. And that's why you see sexualization of Black women and Black body parts, because they're literally seen for their worth as objects and as economic incomes for men. Like, that's just what it is. And that's not to say in any way that white women are not guilty of oppressing Black women and appropriating body parts and features of Black female beauty and just things that are natural to Black women and brown women. But now that these people are claiming it for themselves and using it to empower themselves rather than not speaking out about it and letting it happen to them, which also is something that never happened, but it just wasn't, like, these positions in the media and the public eye weren't previously as available to them as they are now. People, they're just being criticized for it. And it's like, well, men can stand there and literally sexualize women till the ends of the earth, but the minute women turn around and say, okay, well, you want me to sit on your face? Fine. That is when the line has been crossed. And that is something that we really need to be teaching people from a young age, and really making sure that that double standard doesn't exist.
Yeah, and like, owning your sexuality is sexy. Yeah. I mean, I just, like, let's normalize that. It's not, like, to me it's so sexy. Why would, I don't know, surely it's sexy. Like,
Yeah, and I really think...
I'm getting really angry.
I really think the music business and other forms of media and representation are moving in the right direction. But none of this can happen and none of this change will be seen without people being comfortable having uncomfortable conversations, no matter what that's about, whether that's about sex, whether that's about race, whether that's about gender, whether that's about sexuality. Any of those things will not happen. So we just want to encourage people to feel like they can talk to people, and if you none of you guys have someone to talk to about it, please just email us. Like, we would love to talk to you about these things. As you can tell, we're very passionate about it, and yeah, we want to collab with anyone who is trying to promote the same kind of things as we are. And if anyone has any interesting views, perspectives, please.
Yeah, if you have anything to add to anything we've said, like, please DM us or email us. We just want to get more educated and learn more, like, other perspectives.
Yeah, because we are definitely not
stuff
experts
like that. So
as well. So
yeah,
and I want to say we are working very hard on trying to open up a forum and provide a platform that creates a bit more of a community for people that listen to our podcast, so we can share articles we've read or things we've seen on the internet, or just have discussions with you guys. So until that is available,
so we can...
please just try and do that whatever way you can. You can, like, share it with your friends, share it with anyone who you think will find it interesting. And we just want to keep on growing the conversation and growing our community and getting the word out there.
We don't want the discussions to even, like, just stay in the hour-long episodes or whatever. We kind of, the aim is for it to transgress, and then you can, like, start having discussions with your friends and start reading up about it a little bit more. And we will put some books or any recs that we can think of if you want to read a little bit more on this topic in the description. So check that out, definitely. But we want to build some more resources for you guys as well around all the episodes and all the topics we're talking about, and that will be coming soon. So stay tuned.
Yes, please stay tuned. And we apologise again for the episode being a tiny bit late this week. And it was meant to be a shorter one, but we got carried away. So we hope you enjoyed it. And we hope to see you next week. Please follow us on Instagram at Sextras Podcast. Email us at sextraspodcast@gmail.com. You can follow
and subscribe.
Yes, subscribe.
Subscribe to our podcast.
Please share it, rate and review it. And we will see you next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Sextras, presented by Honey Jane Wyatt and Maria Jose Hayodatiyi, produced by Mabel Productions.